All right, next question comes to us from Spurs Wave on Instagram, and it's the biggest domino this offseason for the Spurs. We have to figure out if we're going to knock it over or if we're just going to leave it right there where it is, and that's DeMar DeRozan. So, Destin, this one came from your account on Instagram. What are your takes on the the really heavy weighted rock that are on our shoulders right now, and that's DeMar DeRozan's contract situation?
Yeah, I know you were not huge on DeMar DeRozan like at all. And I was cheering for him, man. I was right there. But this season, it's not that he played bad, because DeRozan was probably the best part of this team this season, sadly
Mhm.
enough. But yeah, it is some stuff where I see from him. And I know one thing that you mentioned, and I never really thought about it, and it was, how does he fit long term, but then how does he even fit short term? And it's not his fault, or even really the Spurs' fault. It's not really much we could have done. We were put in a really bad situation. We made the best out of it. So as far as what we should do with DeRozan, to me, I I don't really care. I would, if it meant that the young guys would get more minutes, I will let them go. That's just me. Just so we can, open up some space, get some new pieces in, let the young guys go, because at this point, I don't really know how he fits anymore. He doesn't, like you say, doesn't fit short term, doesn't fit long term. His style of play isn't that great. He doesn't fit our identity, like Matty said. Like it's just, I don't know where he fits anymore. So yeah, I love the guy, but I would much rather just let him go, or try to trade him. Maybe they can figure something out. He signed back and we trade him. I don't know, but that's what I would do with that.
All right, Harrison, what would you do if you were the GM right now and you had DeMar DeRozan's contract on your desk and you got to make some decisions?
Right now, I'm waiting to see whether or not he opts in or out. Because if he opts in, we're kind of stuck right there. And frankly, everybody's talking about trade. You're not going to find a trade partner for a $27 million contract easily. Look at Kawhi Leonard. His was an $18 million contract, which is now kind of a starter contract, not just a star contract. And it took months to find a deal for him. So assuming he opts out, I'm kind of in the same boat where I really like DeMar. I think he's a great teammate. I think he's a fantastic player. It's just tough looking at the logjam because I don't like him playing small forward, uh, especially defensively. He's too small to keep up with the bigger guys at that position. He's not great at spacing. And then I talked earlier about DeJounte's numbers at the point guard spot. DeRozan started slow, and DeJounte's numbers were incredible. And you notice we were number one in the West at that time, where DeJounte's taking the main load for our team. And then you look at Derek White, his minutes are the same this year as last year, and his numbers have increased. I think he gets one more minute per game than he did last year as a starter. Now he's coming off the bench. He's playing better. So, I think it's clear we're going to have to get those guys time. And if you were to move DeRozan from small forward to shooting guard, well, then what are you going to do with you? You got Patty Mills on contract. You got White. You got Murray. You have Walker. You have Johnson, who can play both. You have Weatherspoon in the G League. It's just, if we bring back Forbes, we got him at that spot. There's too many people there to shove down. And like I said, there's just too much conflict at that small forward spot. So I wouldn't be mad if he opted in. I love the guy. I think he's a great player. But I also think just moving forward, the way our team wants to go, we drafted Samanich as a kind of inside-outside threat who can space. And I think we're looking for some pure shooters to, at least from what I've seen, the direction the team's going. They're looking to get some pure shooters and spacers around DeJounte, have him facilitate the offense, and give him a 5-out spread to kick out to. And we've seen that with Lyles, Aldridge at times, even though he struggled. Even Pirtle stepped out and hit a few. But DeRozan, Gay, those kind of guys, it's just not going to be them. And if it's going to have to be a ball-dominant offense for him going forward, it may just be best to let him walk, see what we can do with that extra cap space this year or even next year when we have a star-studded free agency class.
Yeah, I agree. Matty, DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, it's a really tough situation, and especially like Harrison said, if he opts in, it just really limits us to any free agent signings, and it just kind of keeps a cap on this team ceiling, at least for the short term. Like everyone, I'm sure I like DeMar. I think he gets a bad rap. I think he gets a lot of blame that he doesn't really deserve. And I think after a lot of losses this year, we kind of looked for a scapegoat, and I think he was that scapegoat a lot of times. When I think the reality of the situation was there's so many problems with the team this year that you can't point it at any one player or coach. I mean, it's a collective problem as a whole. I think the problem with DeMar is he's not exactly always the problem, but he's not the solution. And you and I talked about this in your podcast, Rob. If you're in the front office and you're trying to make a decision in regards to Marcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan, and who do you keep, who do you let go? And if it was me up in the front office, I mean, this may be an unpopular opinion, but I would keep Marcus Aldridge and try to, maybe if you can do a sign and trade with DeMar DeRozan, otherwise, let him walk and see what you can do with that $27 million in free agency. A guy like DeMar DeRozan, he's a very ball dominant player, and he's not someone that can, work off the ball and work, for open shots like a Bryn Forbes or even like a Marco Bellinelli. I mean, he needs to have the ball in his hands to be productive on offense. Now, granted, when he has the ball in his hands, he's very productive. As we've seen, he can facilitate an offense. He can, he's improved his passing. His assists have gone up since he's been here. His efficiency on offense has gone up. But, at what cost when we're, taking reps away from DeJounte Murray and Derek White and Lonnie Walker and Keldon Johnson, giving DeMar 30 minutes a game, and we're just still losing. I mean, he had that stretch where he was just playing before the All-Star break. He was playing phenomenal, scoring just historically good numbers, night in and night out, and we were just losing and losing and losing, and it was just the most frustrating thing. So, and I've done it too, where after a game, after a loss where he wasn't, the biggest problem, where I kind of want to look to him as a scapegoat, but the reality is, he wasn't our biggest problem. So, but it's like I said, he's just not the solution, in my opinion. I think if you let DeMar go, you're going to see more reps for Derek White, for DeJounte Murray, for Keldon Johnson, for Lonnie Walker. And, I think we improve defensively. I think we get more ball movement. And I think if you're able to, keep with Marcus Aldridge, maybe extend him just, till the end of his career for, less money, hopefully, that, you keep an all-star level, player on your roster to, kind of help mentor the young guys. And, like we said, LaMarcus Aldridge isn't going to be taking away reps from, all the young guys in the backcourt. So if it was up to me, if I was in the front office, I'd let DeMar walk. But, it's like Harrison said, if we re-sign him, if he opts in, I'm not mad at having, an all-star player like DeMar averaging 20 points in our team. I'm not going to be mad about it, but, I just hope that the Spurs have, a plan in mind to, better surround him with the type of players that he needs to be the center of our offense. I think they did a pretty good job with that last year, surrounding him with better shooters, guys that can space the floor, guys that can defend, at least somewhat defend. This year I think they've done a really bad job of that. So, if they're going to keep him, if that's their plan, if he opts in, I'm fine with that. But they're going to have to, manage the roster better around him. They're going to have to manage the rotations better around him. And, they're going to have to be very careful about who they're giving minutes to. Like we said, Bryn Forbes earlier. You can't be pairing him up with Bryn Forbes for 25 plus minutes a night. So, it's all on the front office and what they see and what their plan is for the future. And that's why I said this offseason is so important for, the future of this franchise. But, we'll see what they do.
Yeah, no, just wait. Listen, let me start off with saying that I agree with what you guys said about DeMar. I think he's a great teammate off the court. On the court, I know he facilitates and he does some good things too. But I think he hurts us with his attitude and stuff like that. But a lot of y'all said that you wouldn't be mad if DeMar opted in. And I'm just gonna go against the grain here, just to go against the grain. But I'd be pissed. I'd be really pissed. And for a few reasons. One, like y'all said, he hurts our development curve. Like our development curve with our young players that we've invested that should be getting these NBA minutes now. He takes that away. Like y'all said already, I don't need to echo that anymore. But that's huge with me. And let me tell you why it's huge with me. homegrown talent over free agents any day of the week, 100%. That's my attitude. That's the way that we've done things. That's the way we've been successful for 20 some years. I appreciate everything Demar has done for us in the past 2 seasons. Like you said, Matty, it's not his fault that he's on the Spurs or he's in this team. This is never for him. This was never supposed to be for him. It was supposed to be for Kawhi. So I don't want to put fault on him in any way. But when it comes to basketball and wins and losses and how we represent ourselves on the court, I feel like he's not a Spurs type player, and that's fine. He doesn't have to be a Spurs. He's a great player. He's an all-star, former all-star, all that and above. But if y'all look at the way that Spurs Nation has treated LaMarcus Aldridge and like how they're starting to treat DeMar DeRozan and how much we love DeJounte and Derek and how much Spurs Nation is cheering for these young guys to get their time. And it's because I think here we develop that bond with our homegrown players, and I think our homegrown talent is ready to play. And a lot of our drama over the past 3 or 4 seasons have come with our free agents. I mean, despite Kawhi's the exception to the rule, but we have all this free agent drama. We're not good at free agency. Players don't want to come here. That's fine. That's been the norm, right? So we take the time to develop in Austin, do all these things. And DeMar hurts the development, and it's just kind of that free agency. There's no real loyalty, I think, on both sides, whereas this young talent, I feel like they're invested in the culture. They're invested in the Spurs. They're invested of what they want to do moving forward. They've come in together. Think about it. DeJounte Murray, Derek White, right? Those young guys have been together, growing, developing together now for a few years. We're about to see something special. We're about to see Quindary, Luka, and Keldon Johnson grow together as players, as friends. You know what I'm saying? Their relationship started at Summer League last year. They're walking around Vegas, just them 3. They're kicking it, blah, blah, blah. They're having a great time. They're developing that bond. You know what I'm saying? That's going to transfer over to years of success, I feel like, down the road. And so I would be more leaning towards, I hope DeMar DeRozan doesn't opt in and just let's go with these young guys. I'll take some growing pains. I'm cool with that. But if he comes back, I just hope that we run it. I was very confident in this team in the beginning of the season. I still am. It was just like you guys said, the minutes were, I don't know, they weren't given to the best maybe player at the position, but maybe who earned it the most. And I think that's like where the Bryn Forbes conversation comes in. I think last season he earned the right to have a full season as a starter, especially in a contract year. So the Spurs do those type things, right? So it's like, we're going to give you that loyalty, that opportunity to show what you can do, get your money, get paid, have a great career. But at the same time, I'd rather just run the next 5 years with our young bucks. All right. So that's going to be the last question for today's episode. No, go ahead, Clint.
No, I was going to say, I agree with you on that as far as the DeMar DeRozan thing. And I know that, like, all those players, they're grown, technically they're all grown men. But this season I've seen it, especially what you were talking about. I excused it the first season he was with us with some of the attitude stuff. That's on court, not off court, but on court. Mm-hmm. But I saw it a lot this season where I was like, okay, you're still not going to try to get along with the refs just a little bit. You're just going to attack the refs constantly. And honestly, I think for those, the young guys and just the overall aura of the team, I feel like he's a bad role model just as far as what he does on the court.
On the court, because I've heard great stories from him off the court, the way he bonds in the locker room, what he does for the community, and he's great with the coaches. Mm-hmm. He's an ultimate pro. I mean, like, this guy's an ultimate pro. But like you said, on the court, he does those little things that lead to losses. It's like, it's not just like, okay, like, you're going to get a technical and whatever. No, like, his behavior, his antics not always, but sometimes it leads to a lot of games that we could have won by one. I mean, how many games did we lose this season by 3 or 4 points?
Well, that's the thing. I think
almost everyone.
Yeah. So every he gets in the worst mood, and then on top of that, he doesn't want to lose, and so it's just like an endless cycle.
Mm-hmm. And that's not something that we're used to here in San Antonio. That's not something that's going to produce good continuity basketball for us for a whole season. We're going to be doing this the whole year with that type of attitude. And I don't want to I know he has like the mental health issues and all those things that, I'm very very respectful about with him when he does all these things. I love that he speaks out about all that stuff. But last year, getting kicked out of a playoff game for a technical was the most non-Spursiest thing that you can do, because you put yourself before the team at home in a playoff game.
Yeah.
I can't swallow it. I just can't.
And this my last note on like the whole Demar, and you brought up a great point, Rob. That another thing I want the team to get back to next year is you don't see that sense of camaraderie with this team. And, even last year, you had the guys, and 2 years ago you had the guys. They did Flannel Fridays, they did the Coffee Gang, and I don't want to sound too corny, but there's just something that needs to be said about that kind of off the court chemistry that I just don't think we saw this year with this team. And I'm not saying that doesn't necessarily mean that like everybody hates each other, I don't think that's the case. I think we have enough veterans that have been in the league a long time with Patty, LaMarcus, Demar. Like, I don't think they hate each other, but you just kind of get this sense of like they don't really seem to like to spend time with each other off the court, and that lack of chemistry will show on the court. And I think, with the young guys, like you said, the guys that have been in the Austin League or in the G League together, they've been grinding for, a couple of years now. They've been on the same team. They've been playing, getting reps and practicing, hanging out off the side of the court, like you said, in Vegas. They're just that bond, and they're homegrown. They have the fans at their side. Like, I get it. There's just a certain level of talent you need. So I'm not saying, you play the 3 young guys and we're going to, win another 10 championships, but there is something that needs to be said about, chemistry or a lack of for this year's team and next year's team. I want to see get some of that back. I want to see the Spurs Instagram page and Twitter page posting about Flannel Fridays or Coffee Gang or whatever the new thing is. I just every game it was just kind of like it just was like a drag, like let's just get this over with, like we got so and so tonight, like just I want to see that sense of camaraderie come back next year, and I don't think I don't see that with DeMar a whole lot. Not that it's his fault, just you don't see that a whole lot.
Yeah, it's definitely not his fault. Go ahead, Destin.
I was just going to say, not every, tech is created equal, So, I mean, every single time that I've seen DeMar DeRozan get a tech, it has been a really bad tech. I mean, I haven't seen him get a tech that was like, he did this crazy move, and then he's, looking at the player, staring the player down, where it's like, oh, that was nasty. No, it's been literally this season, he got an and one and then yelled at the ref and got a tech. It was like, what are you doing? Like, those are bad techs. Yeah. I hate that. It just drives me crazy, man.
Yeah. I don't think that DeMar DeRozan – I don't like to give him any slack, because I think like when it comes to the way he does like his post media interviews and things like that, he's the ultimate pro. He always keeps like he separates business and basketball. A lot this season has reporters have been asking him about is he thinking about what he wants to do with his contract, this and that, and blah blah blah. But he's like, nah, I'm here. I'm a Spur. Like, of course, like I want to. He'll ask like the reporters. He's like, you want to get paid, right? You want to get paid the most you can do for being a reporter, right? And then they're like, yeah. And he's like, well, shoot, man. We all here just trying to, get our bread. But at the same time, he was always commenting about the team. And Matty, you said you didn't really see any continuity this season. I mean, you played at the next level. It's hard to build continuity when you're not winning games.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, winning is the absolute cure-all medicine. And, when you're losing, you see guys finger pointing. I think we've done a good job overall of that, of, not seeing that finger pointing, animosity between the guys. Maybe they kept it a secret, which, if that's the case, good job. But I don't think that's the case. I think they've done a good job of just, keeping the locker room together, which I give them credit for. But, winning will definitely help that, get that sense of chemistry back next year if they can do that.
Yeah, and we just never could go on a long enough run to sustain continuity and sustain chemistry. It was like, oh, we're building chemistry. Boom, 3-game losing streak. Oh, we won one. All right, let's keep it going. Boom, we get knocked back down. So every time we got up, we got knocked back down this season, and that's been the story so far. So we're gonna go ahead and let me throw it to you, Harrison, really quick. Do you have anything else to add on DeMar?
I was just gonna say, losing wears on people, and on top of that, with the continuity thing. you notice as we lost more games, we started experimenting with different rotations. So then you lack rotational continuity. And if you look back at past Spurs teams, there's a consistent pattern to Pop's substitutions in those seasons. And, I mean, you could almost go about 40 games into the season. You could say, okay, this is the starting five. At the 5-minute mark, he's going to sub these 2 guys in. Then he's going to pull these 3 guys out and put the rest in. Then start of the second quarter, this 5 starts. We've never had that this year. We've had so many different starting 5 groups, so many different bench groups, G League guys getting thrown in there. So not only do they not know each other off the court, they don't know each other on the court. They're still figuring out how to play together.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. It was just too much of a carousel this season on so many different levels. You know, one level's spinning, the next one down is going fat, whatever. It was just so hard to build anything this season, and we paid for it. We weren't going to make the playoffs. I was saying it already for about a week or so. It was just, you know, if we're going to try to predict the future, let's look at the past, right? And so the past this season did not look pretty good for us. Okay, guys, that was the last question of this episode of Order on the Court Mailbag Edition. Harrison, we'll start off with you. Can you let our viewers know where they can find you, subscribe to all the stuff you got going on?
Yeah, just go to facebook.com/San Antonio Spurs Talk or search San Antonio Spurs Talk on Facebook, and you'll find us with the top option there.
Awesome. Destin, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram, Spurs Wave, or Spurs Dynasty, or you can follow me follow me through YouTube, and that's Clay and the Spurs Fan.
Awesome. Matty, what's going on, man? Where can people look at all the stuff you got going on in Spurs world?
Yeah, you can check us out on SpursFanblog.com. We're trying to get new articles out every week. Harrison's been a big part of that. He's been writing in some pretty incredible articles the past few weeks. We're also on Instagram. It's at SpursFanblog. You can check us out there, see all our updates, and check out our page.
All right, guys, Spurs Nation, this next one goes out to you. If you like what you saw today, if you like us getting together, talking Spurs basketball, make sure you put a like down in the below. Make sure you subscribe and let us know in the comments below, because we're going to be doing more of these mailbags for you, a lot more Spurs content coming to you in the future. So stay tuned for that. Of course, I'm Rob. You can find everything I do at buckingspurs.com. But most importantly, Spurs Nation, we would like to thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for reading our articles. Thank you for commenting, for posting, for liking, retweeting, whatever you do to help grow Spurs Nation. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. That message is not just from me, but it's from everyone in this mailbag edition to you. So as always, thank you for being a Spurs fan. All right. Adios.